I have a publication, it's the bilingual publication of Kansas. The name is El Perico Informador y Parlanchin, that translate into English as the chatterbox parrot that keeps you informed. In our publication, we have all the articles in English and Spanish. So all these stories are in those two languages. It's not just for the Hispanic community, it's also for the English-speaking community. And we have different sections. We have a section that is the editorial, that I write the editorial every month, that talks about what is happening in Kansas, what is happening in the city, in the county, or in the United States, or in the world, you know. But specifically, we try to concentrate in what happened in Kansas and in our area. I always wanted to have my own business. I always admire people that have their own ideas and their own initiative. That's one of the reasons why I started my own business. When I was a child, I was very fortunate to have somebody in my family, that was my father, that he has his own business. He used to have a magazine in Mexico. And I wrote my first article when I was 12 years old. So I have a lot of experience writing. Since I was 12, I started writing about different scenes. So any subject I can develop. If you give me a word, I can develop a subject. And then my father used to help us with the writing, and not just my father, but his group, his team of writers. My father used to have a political magazine. You know, he used to write about politics. He used to talk about the economy of Mexico, and not just in Mexico, but the world economy. He specialized in soils. He was an agronomist that specialized in soils, and his magazine talks about a variety of stuff. So I incorporate some of their ideas of how they run their business into my own business. I incorporate some of the ideas, but this is my own idea. It came from the idea of my magazine. It was just the result of all that I have learned in the past. I knew my father used to have a magazine in Mexico. I said, I can have another one here. Sometimes you just want it to be your own boss. Sometimes you just want to do things on your own. Because many times people think, okay, I think I can do it. But many times people don't do it. So, and it's a good idea to try it. But you have to have a product that works. You have to have a service, and you have to have a good idea. I wanted to provide a service to the community with El Perico Informador by giving something different to the community that they don't have, something that it can be accessible, something that it can be simple, something that anybody can read and understand. You know, not try to make it too complicated. You know. And then El Perico, it just came, the name, it just came because, as you guys know, parrots, Perico is parrot. Parrot is in English, Perico is in Spanish. And this is the animal that has the most similar voice to the human. It's the animal with the more similitudes with the human voice. And there are 350 different species of parrots. I have published El Perico Informador for 8 years every month. You know, it's a monthly publication that I have printed every month for 8 years. Well, in 2013, it was 4 pages. We have 12 pages to 20 now. Yeah. At the beginning, we had just 4 pages, you know, and it grew. Now we have 12, sometimes 20 pages. So it all depends how much material we have, how much we want to bring to the community, how much time we have to do the work and the writing and the translation and all that. But it has grown. It has grown. No, it was a period of time that everybody's aware here that is called the coronavirus pandemic of 2019 that affect a lot of businesses in the United States. Many even close. Fortunately, we didn't have to close. Of course, we had to slow down. We were in a steady growth, but then we had to slow down a little bit. But it wasn't, in our case, it wasn't that bad. Because we have other things to do besides just being outside in the community. We can do it via email. We can talk to people by phone. We can do teleconferences. We can go in Zoom. So in our case, it didn't affect us as much. Of course, it didn't benefit us because everybody got affected by the pandemic. And it still is affecting some companies for sure that they haven't get in their feet. But in our case, wasn't that the problem. I will say that it's a business that people trust. I believe that because we have certain policies in our publication we have adopted from the beginning, we have in mind something that we didn't want to change. One of those things was not to take political advertising. So we don't take political advertising. I have offers from the right, I have offers from the left and from the middle, and they have all offered me wonderful opportunities. The people say, "Why did you leave that money on the table, Marco?" Because I want that the reader believe what we have for them. So, for example, when we do an interview with the governor or with somebody running for senator or somebody running for a Board of Education, because we don't distinguish. It can be Board of Education, it can be a small, or can be what we call big office. We don't distinguish. Each one, for me, is important because it requires a lot of research. It requires a lot of effort. It requires a lot of fixing graphics, a lot of looking for interviews, looking for advertising. So you have to have a plan, and you have to be flexible. And this plan, it cannot just be just one plan. You have to have 3 different plans to make it work, at least. Because if one thing doesn't work, you have to incorporate a different thing. And if that doesn't work, you have to use another one, another way. So there is always, when you are going to have your own business, in my opinion, you have to have at least 2 or 3 plans of action. And how are you going to do this on your own? Are you going to do this with somebody else? Not everything is going to work just that easy. Things take time. You have to be flexible. You have to have a good idea. You have to have good service. You have to have a good product. And you have to have a plan. Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C. If you don't have those plans, if you don't think in advance, and if you don't think what is going to happen bad, what is going to happen good, so all the planning is not going to help. So that's why you have to be flexible. You always have to be flexible. That's my advice to somebody that wanted to start a business. Flexibility. Every time I hear no, I look for 10 more yeses. That's my problem that I have. That I'm very determined to make it work. I don't have an option. I cannot hear a no for an answer when I'm looking for something. I used to teach Taekwondo, so I used to tell the students, you don't need to compete with this guy to see who is going to kick higher. You need to compete with yourself to kick higher than yesterday. I hope other people do the same, because when I hear no, I say, okay, then 100 more will say yes.